Hello and welcome back. Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench once again. And yes, you've waited 4 weeks for this. If you remember, we ran out of the red vinyl tubing and I had to order some more from Pocher, and it's finally turned up today. Today is Friday the 29th of November 2024, and yeah, it's taken like a month, so they must have not had any in stock. So they actually sent me about 2 meters, which was good of them, so I got this left over. If you remember, at the end of the last video, I was playing around with actually putting these leads in into their final positions. Now what I've done, this is actually the distributor for the rear. I don't think there's a difference, but I did mark them before I painted them. You can see there's an F on there for front. Okay, so that one would go in the rear. But the reason I swapped them over is because I've got these pipes. I can't stand the engine up and show you what I'm doing, but this way I can stand the engine up like that and you can see what I'm doing. So here is number one, and number one is at 6 o'clock when you compare to the bracket here. So number one is there, and that's got to come around, that's got to go into this one here. So there's number one spark plug, that's number one lead. Okay, so that's got to go like that. And lo and behold, it won't stay on there. I'm not going to glue it because I'm not going to be fitting it at all, as you're going to see in a minute. But that's going to go on there like that. Now, basically you can see the way they're asking us to do this, and this is how the real engine is. It sort of comes along and then the wire goes up into this gap in the cam cover where it's actually clamped together with a plastic looking clamp, and then it goes up and it's clamped together and it goes around the back and into the top of the distributor cap there. Well, if we actually run it like they say, okay, it's going to come along this cap here. Right, and then it's going to go up through there, and straight away you can see we're going to have a bit of a problem here, because this pipe, in fact if I go the other way round, to make it go how we want it, it's going to be pulled pretty tight. So what I would suggest, if you haven't done this yet on yours, you can see here, if I put that right through its root, you can see it's pulled very tight. But also we have to consider, if I keep my finger there where it's going to end up, we have to consider the lead has to go through those intakes there. So it's all going to be sort of pulled very tight and just not look very nice. So what I've done here, I've used this as an experiment, and I've gone through, and you can see here the lengths which are written on the instructions, and next to it here I've put a note, a slightly longer length. These last two you might want to make them 130, but I've 125 there. Doing this actually means you'll need an extra 100 mil of lead, but I think most people have got like a meter over anyway. Also check your box, because somebody told me they didn't have enough, and then when they looked in their box again they found they had a second bag with TU2, so they had more than enough. And also some of you offered to send me your spares, so thank you very, very much for that. But basically, with all this extra, what I've done, I've cut these lengths so they're too long. So we're going to actually, I'll start with this one. Okay, so in fact what I'll do is I'll swap these back over. Let's put that back in there like that. Okay, what I'll do is I'll swap these back over and start again basically with these longer lengths. So I've got these lengths all down here as they are listed. So these first ones are cut to 120 rather than 110. So that one's going to go on there at 6 o'clock. Okay, so what we're going to do here, just like we did before, don't worry, I'm not going to put you through watching all this. I don't even know what this video is going to be called yet. But I don't know if it's going to be called 3B continued or 3C or whatever. I'll probably call it 3C. Because section 3 of the instructions is massive. And I'm just going to plonk that onto there like that. Okay, there we go. Just hold that for a few seconds, that should hold it. I've used the VMS black thin glue. I did, if you remember, I dipped it in the VMS, but then the VMS capillaried up inside the line and it looked horrible. But if you just put a small drop on the pip on the distributor, it looks fine. Okay, so that's on there like that. So what I'm going to do now is carry on. In fact, I'm going to grab a cotton bud and just take off the excess there. There we go, it's just a tiny drop oozes out. Okay, so there we go, so that's that done. And we'll go from there. I'll do the rest and then I'll come back and we'll see how it looks with these longer lengths, and if indeed we need to extend them, and then I'll have to remove these and replace them and stuff. As I say, if you've already done yours, another thing to consider, somebody did actually message, they got their kit and they just crashed into it and built it straight out of the box, just bang, 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 put it together, and they said that you can't see any of this on the finished model anyway. So, you know, you might not even want to fit them at the end of the day, but I'm making a video all about how the model goes together and how I have my little touch. So there you go. Some of you have been, or one, I think it's one person, maybe two, has said, you know, they would rather see me just build it out of the box and stop, you know, painting stuff and everything like that. If you want to see a build out of the box, Pocher themselves have done one, or are doing one, so you can go and watch that build series. The guys sat there, very nice presentation with music and everything, so you can go and watch that and see how it goes together straight out of the box. You can also go over and see Splash Baker Modeling, I think it's called, and he's doing it where he's doing some filling and sanding and painting and everything. So yeah, go from there, fill your boots. Right, I will see you all in a minute when I've done this. And we're back. So you can see both distributors now all wired in, and you can see that this one has little wire loops to keep the leads tidily together. You will also see lots of little white hairs. That's because, for those of you that don't watch my channel regularly, we have recently got Dottie, who's a little 12-week-old wire fox terrier, and she's losing her puppy fluff, and it is literally everywhere. You pick her up and you look like a bloody snowman. So yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, all I have to do is just, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to put up with the hairs and then deal with them afterwards with an anti-static brush or something, because they're just everywhere. They're in the air, I think. So so basically, I'll show you here what I've done. You can see that these wires are grouped into, initially they're grouped into sixes, 2 6s, and then they're grouped into 4 3s. Okay, 4 lots of 3. And this is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. So we've got 1 through 6 together here, 7 through 12 together there, and then we got 1 through 3, 4 5 6, exactly like that, tied together. And what I've used is this 0.2mm black copper detailing wire from Little Cars, which no longer exists. This is many years old now. You can get it from various other places. So basically what I've done here is cut a length, just use an old blade, cut a length 20mm long, okay, and then take a piece of wood, wrap it around the piece of wood like so. You've got equal length tails, just like that. Okay, doesn't need to be perfect. And then I'm just using a pair of tweezers just to, oh, here we go. Camera's on, things are going to go wrong. All I'm doing is using a pair of tweezers just to put a twist in it, get it twisted together. Look at this, bloody typical. Right, here's one I prepared earlier. Oh, come on, this is a joke. This always happens when the bloody camera's on. I've just done all of those straight through, no problems at all. So there we are. Oh, dear, dear, dear. So you can see there we've got a little loop, and all we'll do then is we'll gather up 3 of these leads, you know, 1 2 3, say that I'm not sure which is which, but just pass that over just like so, the 3 wires. And then once you've got your 2 batches or 4 batches of 3, then you can do your 2 batches of 6. Do the same thing but make the wire bigger, slide it over, and job done. And then these little singles, what we're going to do, they will go here. So basically here we have 1 2 3. Okay, so I know this is 1 2 3 because that one there is number 1 and that is in that batch. So this little batch of wires, remember, you might want to leave this actually until you've got the inlet manifold on, because these wires actually have to come through. I'm going to take a distributor out, make life easier. These wires actually have to go through the inlet manifold here, which is why I've got them bunched up into 6 there, and then the 3s down here. So what we're going to do here, they will come through, and then the 1 2 3 which I want on this side, so I'm going to have to adjust how they go into there. That's going to come down, and then this wire loop will be adjacent to there, where those wires are going to go. See this slot here? Just pick it up so you can see what I'm looking at. You can see this slot here in the cam cover. That's where the cables have to lie. So what we'll do is just put a drop of super glue or something on there, and that'll hold them in position, and then we can connect up our leads. And to be quite honest with you, it doesn't really matter the correct, you know, getting 1, 2, 3. If you get 3, 2, 1 or 1, 3, 2, it doesn't really matter. And then you can see we've got the additional length on here. If you remember, I made these, they should have been 110, 110, 102, and I've made them 120, 120, 110. And you can see now how much more flex we've got than if we had the original lengths. So that extra few millimeters, if you've got the spare pipe, it's worth it. What I would suggest you do, as I told you in the last video, and as I say, what we'll do is we'll super glue that in there, okay, and then that'll be nicely held in there. And what we can do is cut these, like you see this one here is a little bit longer than that one there, so we can pull this one through a bit, or we can cut that one off a bit to get them all the same. And there we go, that's how it's all going to look. We could actually put another wire and bunch them up together there to hold them together. I mean, you know, the sky's the limit. You can do what you like. It just depends how far you want to go with it all, really. So basically that's what I've done there, and we can see that the extra length is helping immeasurably. Again, you've got those long ones there going to the back. There's more puppy hairs there. I don't know where these bits of white are coming from. Tiny little bits of white fluff. I don't know where they're coming from. So yeah, so what I'm going to do now is try and get these off of here. Now I know number one is that one there, and I know I want to extend it. So oh, look at that, it does just pull off easily. So that's pretty cool. So we can extend the length of that. So that's, I'll get on and get that done, get the rest of this wiring done, and then what I'm actually thinking, I'm actually thinking I may not connect these at this end permanently, at least. I may just sort of tie them up, and then once the inlet manifold's in, then we can route them in, because I've got a feeling we're also going to have to lift them up to get around the air intake here. So I don't want it to be too much of a chore. Now the next step is going to be fitting all this throttle linkage and everything, and that's going to go, well, that's interesting, that goes underneath the leads on this side and over the leads on that side. You can see here, so that's going to be interesting. Again, we might want to leave that side off so we can put it over the throttle leads after, or the throttle cable, should I say. And then we're straight into the chassis work then. So yeah, this could be the last part of the engine for now. We shall see. I'm not sure when we actually fit the inlet manifold. Let's paste down the engine going in there. Okay, moving along. Another hair there. We've got the leads glued on, as you can see. We've got the wires all on. I've put another wire on this one, and the extended leads are working well. So yeah, go for the, even go perhaps a little bit longer if you want to, especially on these here. They will be 7, 8 and 9. These here, do them a little bit longer, because as you can see, they're fair. If that's the ones, is it? Hang on. No, it's these. They're fairly short. So the throttle linkage parts are all in your flat plastic trays, the DCC and the DCB. And then you've got the springs separate in the bags as well. You've got these springs on here. So if you want to build this out of the box, what you're basically going to do is put this, you're going to put this one here. You can see you have these two here. You have, I've already fitted the springs, as you can see. They're simple to fit. So all you're going to do is take this one here. This is DCD15. You can see there's two here. There's DCD 19 and 15. And 19 is the slimmer one, 15 is the fatter one. You can see this one's fatter than that one. So basically, what we're going to do is slide that one on there. We're going to slide that one on there. And then this part is going to go on the end. This is the pivot for the other end. Okay, that spring is just fallen off. Don't worry about that. Ignore that spring falling off. It's just because it's not glued in place and I've knocked it off. So we've got this piece on the end, DCB22. That's in the B tray. The rest is in the D tray. So that's now going to go along there, and that spring's fallen off as well. Look, it's because the camera's on. It happens all the time. I have fitted these about 3 times and been playing around with them, and the springs didn't fall off once. So there we are. So that's going to go, sorry, that's going to go on that side, that's going to go on that side, so that's going to go down in there. I know you're probably finding it hard to see what I'm doing. Oh dear, dear, dear. This is all going to have to be glued into place, but unfortunately you can't glue anything until you've got it all in position, because you don't know where any of it's going to go. So what you could do now is, now you've got that in place, you could get a drop of super glue into that joint there, okay, and then basically I'm going to hold those down as if they're glued, and this block here is going to go into the end of that throttle slider there, and this one here is going to go into the end of that one there. It doesn't want to stay in there. Okay, so that's going to go in there. That's how they're going to glue in place. And then we've got this piece here, which is DCD4. Okay, so that's your adjustable linkage for your fuel pump, and that one's going to go onto that pin there, and then the end of it's going to go onto there like so. Okay, so that's all that in position, so you can see that there, how it all goes, and it all goes on quite nicely. Now also bear in mind, when you look at this, get your engine this way around so it's the same as the instructions, and you can see that on this side the ignition leads go underneath this part. Okay, so your ignition leads are going to have to be underneath that throttle linkage. So we'll clip that on there, clip that onto there like so. There we go. So that's that in place. So your ignition leads go under there, and with this one they go over the top. I've been looking at this in hindsight. If I built this again, okay, when I had the cylinder heads as separate parts and everything, I think I would have drilled those pins out, put holes in there, drilled out distributor caps, put holes in, and then use copper wire with a red sheathing on it rather than these things, because they're horrible. They won't stay anywhere. They don't stick with super glue very well at all. They're just, you can't stick I tried to use tape. I was going to get masking tape and paint it black to make these clamps, but the tape won't stick to it. So, and it's also springy and spongy that the tape sort of just kept falling off itself. So in hindsight, I would replace that with copper wire. I've even thought about doing it now and using little short lengths of black vinyl tube at the end and putting the copper wire in. But having been told by one of the viewers that none of this can be seen on the finished model anyway, I'm not going to go to all that extra trouble and also waste a ton of copper wire with the you know, for something that can't be seen. But my big concern comes when we come to get this all going around here, and these have got to fit into here. Now I've attempted to drill a hole in one of the rocker covers. I wish they were plastic and not die cast, and then we could drill a hole, and then we could put the spike, the tail off the wire, we could put that into the hole and fix it in place, and that would hold them. But I think we're just going to have to go for the best we can, really. I must watch the Pocher video and see what he does on there, he gets around it. But it's not very user friendly, this material, shall we say. I don't like it at all. You can see it doesn't, you know, it just stays straight. It doesn't want to bend. It doesn't want to do anything. I could perhaps put some wire up inside it, but if I'm going to go to all that trouble, I may as well just replace it. But distributors are glued in place, by the way. So yeah, there we go. So what I'm going to do now, all of this throttle linkage should be a different colour. This has all been done silver and black. From what I can see, all of this is basically CAD plated, and then you'll have you know, nuts and bits and pieces. These bits here are a rubber gator, so they're going to have to be painted in black. This bit here I think should be aluminium, and then you've got the lever on there, which is I'm going to use the titanium gold again for that LP62. So yeah, I'm going to repaint these to have them looking pretty. I've just shown you how it all goes together. So I may well call that a day. I know this video has only been about 20 minutes long, but as I said, I was waiting forever for this tubing to come. I kind of wish I'd just bloody gone on and replaced it now with copper wire. But as I say, you know, it's a bit, it would be a bit of a pee take to change to copper wire now after waiting for this all this time. But there we go, it is what it is. So there we are. I will see you all. I'm either going to stop this now or I'm going to come back. I will see. The way this works in editing, what I can do is film this now and say, I will either see you in a second with more painting done, or we will call that a day. So if you can see down in the bottom right hand corner down here, if you can see that the red line is back here somewhere, then we've got more to go. But if the red line is here at the end, then that's it, it's finished. So we'll see how far I get with this painting and everything. Bearing in mind I've got a bloody puppy to look after. It's Friday, I've got a doctor's appointment, and my mum's coming over tomorrow. So whether I get a chance to get any of this out for Saturday night, I do not know. We shall see. But let's wait and see. If I am going now, thank you for watching. See you next week. Okay, so we did come back. It's, what is it now? It's actually 4:10 on Saturday afternoon on the 30th of November 2024. So this is like under 4 hours before you see it. If I can get this up and edited and videoed and uploaded now in time, hopefully you will get this 8 PM Saturday night, because at least one of you's been asking for it. So as you can see, we've got the throttle linkage on, all painted, all changed around, and then what I've done is I've got these plug leads on, and I've managed to get them to stick to the rocker covers or the cam covers as per the instructions. And as saying that one's just broken away. So what we need to do is make sure that where we glue it is where the wire is, because I think the wire glues. This vinyl tubing is horrible. Okay, it doesn't stay where you put it. It just springs about everywhere. I think it's probably a bit overscale as well. Super glue doesn't stick it hardly very well, so you can just pull. You can pull any of these off at any point. It's easy. And you just saw that just broke away there, and it's left a great big lump. Now, if you're getting one of these, haven't started yours yet, whatever, this is what I would thoroughly recommend. I would thoroughly recommend either get some vinyl tube and some copper wire with the red sheathing on it. Okay, so get a little piece of vinyl tube, say 3 millimeters long, put that on the dimples on the distributor and on the cylinder head, and then use your copper wire. And your copper wire you can bend into shape and make it stay. Also, the super glue will work on the sheathing. So you can see this is how they're supposed to go. They're showing you here they're supposed to go. You have them in batches of 3, and they go around and they're glued into these grooves in the rocker covers, in the cam covers. You can see there's a groove there with a lump of super glue in it there. Okay, so that's how they're supposed to go, and they have these like plastic clips that hold them in place. This stuff doesn't want to stay anywhere. It's springy as hell. Nothing sticks it. It's just horrible. So, as I say, in hindsight, I mean, I'm not going to go to the fuss of it now, but I would. That's the easiest way to do it. This metal is very difficult to drill, and these dimples are absolutely tiny. The pimples that are on here for the pipe to go on are minuscule. They're like half a mil diameter and half a mil long. It's not like a Tamiya kit where you get a great big pin to push the tubing over. So yeah, I would thoroughly recommend replacing this. I may well do it yet, and then when you see me come back I will have done it. But the thing is, as I say, I've been told you can't see any of this anyway. Now what I'm going to do, while the camera's on, I'm going to show you how I've actually glued these in place. So I'm just going to break away that lump of super glue on there. Try and not damage the paint. As you can see, the super glue just peels away, and as you mess around with these pipes, half of them come off of the spark plugs anyway, so that's good. Absolutely bloody awful stuff it is. I wish I'd not bothered using it and just gone straight in with the red wire, and then we wouldn't have had the hold up waiting for this tubing to come. If you're watching this Pocher, I'm sorry if you're disappointed that I'm actually saying it isn't very good, but you know, if this is the only bad part of the model, then that's great, isn't it? So now what I can do is get that piece of wire, turn it around a bit so it's not sticking out. And as I said, one of the viewers has already said he's finished his kit and you can't see any of this anyway, so we won't worry about it too much. I'm just going to get a drop of super glue onto there. Okay, quite a nice decent sized drop. Alright, and then I'm going to grab my little dog. Got to be careful of rolling this chair around. She likes to lay underneath the chair, or between the legs of the rollers of the chair. And what happens then is I will trap her paws. I haven't done it yet, but no doubt I will. Okay, so I can hold that in position there. And hopefully that will dry. It just looks, you know, I spent all this time with this lovely paintwork and everything, and it just looks so messy. There we go, that's glued in place now. It just looks so untidy because it's just horrible tubing. As I say, get some red copper wire, guys, and some little lengths of vinyl tube. Stick the black vinyl tube on, then stick the wire into the tube. Job done. And you can actually pull it down then and flow it and bend it into place, have it, and it will just stay where you want it. And that's it, job done. As I say, I may well do it off camera. We shall see, because all this will just come off easy. Right, so turning the page, we have this throttle mechanism to do, so you can see I've done all that as I explained to you a couple of minutes ago, yesterday for me. I've since, as I say, painted it all. I've done this in Tamiya LP LP 62, is it, I think 62 or 61, titanium gold, and then I've just hand painted the details in, the silver bits and bobs and everything, so it just looks a bit better. Got to be careful about putting the engine on its side now because we've got these plug leads that will just break off. But there we go. I watched the Pocher's own build, and what he just had them all looping up and all over the place. So I'll be interested to see how it looks when he's done it. When he's got the rest of the engine together. And as I say, you can't see it anyway. And all of this, remember, if it's all looking a bit floppy, these have got to go around. They're going to end up there. They've got to go in between the two banks of 3 throttle bodies there. So that's going to do the same there. So you can see it's all going to get tightened up when we put the throttle bodies on. So there we are. Right. And also the other thing we have to do to finish off part 3, because then we're on to section 4, is fit the exhausts. So we have the exhaust here in my little box. You don't get this box with the kit. They come in a bag. I've actually just put them all in here. There we go, so there's our bits of tubing for our exhausts. So they look very nice indeed. I was going to paint the insides of them in a darker metallic grey or something, but they're already like that. So there's a tiny bit of burring on that one, so I'm going to get a this is a 2500 grit sponge. I'm just rolling it around the edge just to try and take that. Yeah, there's a bit of a burring on there from where it's been cut. Let's get a 600 grit harder stick. Holding it at 45 degrees and turning the pipe. The tube, should I say. That's better. What do you want? Little one's looking at me. She sat there looking at me. Here we go. I'm going to get these deburred, see what Dottie wants, and then I'll be straight back. Okay, turns out she didn't want to go out at all. She just wants to bite my chair. So there we are. So that's those nicely deburred. And I've also gone over the whole tube with this 2500 grit. It's just taken some of the sheen away. Very nice indeed. Very nice tubing actually. Very professional looking as well. I've seen one of the other ones has got can't remember which one, but it's got plastic exhausts and they look terrible. So there we go. I'm looking at this engine now. I think I am going to change those plug leads, but I'll show you what it looks like next week if I do it. Right, so, and I'll also show you how to do it as well. So we've got this part here, which is D2. This just comes along in its bag with the G-sprue, pre-painted and everything, and that's just going to glue on the back of there. Now, as you can see on here, we have a mould seam around the edge, and we have a sprue gate there. So what I need to do here is remove the residue from the sprue gate, remove the mould seam, like so. There we go, that looks better. And you can see there's also a mould seam all the way around there as well, so I'm just going to sand that away. Somebody did actually mention in one of the videos in the comments, I thought it was a bloody good idea. I don't know if Pocher would consider it. I don't know if their production line would allow them to do it. There's another couple of sprue gates there, look. Yeah, somebody suggested that they offer a cheaper kit. Paint all the bodywork and everything, but don't paint these individual parts, just give them the sprues unpainted. Excuse me. And I thought it was a bloody good idea. You know, because if you're like me and you want all the mould seams and everything gone, you're going to be repainting everything anyway, so I don't know if it's something they might consider in the future. There we go. If you can hear a noise in the background, that's Dottie chewing the leg of my chair. It's an aluminium cast frame. She's obviously teething, so hopefully it's giving her some sort of relief. There we go, so that's ready now for a coat of paint. But because it's the time it is and I want to get this video out, what I'm going to do is just show you how all this fits together. Now on the back of the engine, here you have 4 pips, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And this is basically going to glue onto them. I don't know how loose fit the exhaust are, they're very loose. So what we can basically do, we'll glue that onto there when it's time. Then we can slide the exhaust through. And they are a very tight fit on those exhaust manifolds. I'm not sure if they're supposed to go right over. I wonder how much they stick out if we don't do that. I could have sworn I checked these. They do go over, it's just because I've got so much paint on them, I think. I could have sworn I checked these, I must have checked them before I painted them. I shall have to go in and, you can see on here, it doesn't want to go on. But if I push it and turn it at the same time, it will. It just wants to remove all that paintwork, doesn't it? There we go. There we go, blow that out. And then that'll fit on there nice and tight. So what we'll do is we'll put that on and then run some super glue on it afterwards. Because if we put the super glue on first, it'll just peel it all off. So basically that's how that's going to go together. And that's going to go over like that, and that's going to sit on those 4 pins. So you can see there's our exhaust sticking out like that. So I'm going to do that off camera now, so that I can get this video out there. And then when we come back next week, I will have either rewired the engine or not. but we'll be into step 4, which is starting to build the chassis. Now, something I want to look at here is the possibility of building the top of the chassis first so we can paint it and then put the engine in after. I'm going to look into it. Okay, so it's something I'll be playing with off camera, and then I'll tell you in the next video if it's a goer or not. But overall, I think this engine's looking bloody lovely. I think the extra painting and everything is paying dividends. I think it does look nicer. As I say, I think these plug leads are letting it down. But as I also say, we have to consider we're not going to be able to see any of it. So, as I'm looking at it now, it's starting to look better, to be honest. But they've just been so much work to get done. Maybe I will just leave them as they are. Right, I'll see you next week for part 4. Thank you for watching. Sorry you had the month off, but as I said, I was waiting for this tubing to come, which is even more annoying now. Anyway, I will see you next week. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.